And now it's time for the Impact Wrestling Report. Here's your host, Mathew Shaffer.
This is the Impact Wrestling Report. I'm your host, Mathew Shaffer. You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Matthew_Shaffer. Of course, if you like this video and want more content, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. You'll be updated with news and reviews, of course, from WWE NXT show with This Is NXT with Michael Jargo, as well as the Raw and Smack Talk review show with Rick Vickery and Big Ray Hernandez. So without further ado, let's get into tonight's edition of Impact Wrestling. July 26, 2018 is when I'm recording this. You'll probably be seeing this on Friday, July the 27th. So, of course, Impact Wrestling does start off with a recap from Slammiversary. And if you did miss this last Sunday's Impact Slammiversary, I encourage you to either fork out the money, seek it out through other illicit activities, wink, wink, nod, nod, or just watch the Impact YouTube channel and you can get all the highlights and clips there. But definitely also check out my One Wrestling YouTube review, the Impact Slammiversary Report. Anyway, so Impact does start off, like I said, with a recap of Slammiversary, highlighting some of the top matches. And we get Impact tonight, starting off with the belt collector and still Impact heavyweight champion, Austin Aries. Austin Aries comes out of the ring and he says that people are saying that Slammiversary was the best pay-per-view in the company's history. I would definitely say it was up there, top 10. He also said that him and Moose delivered and gave the fans, what professional wrestling should be, the match itself, that is. Austin Aries says that holding the Impact Championship means that he's the best in the world. He then also takes a slight at the WWE guys by not actually calling them out, but basically says that he's also not in a bubble where he's fed lines to say. He says that when you're outside of that bubble, that you can make a difference. He also goes on to say that he doesn't care what people have worked for, that he doesn't care where people have worked for, but he's inviting anybody to his promotion, from all promotions around the world. So at that point, Eddie Edwards comes out. So I guess this is where we're going with Eddie Edwards. As we talked about on the Impact Slammiversary report, that feud seems to be concluded with him and Tommy Dreamer. Eddie Edwards comes out with a kendo stick. He attacks Austin Aries from the back and knocks him out and, kind of leaves with the kendo stick in its mouth. And that is how we conclude the opening segment. So it appears that Eddie Edwards is going to be the focal point, and he's heading back after that Impact Heavyweight Championship. So very interesting, as it's kind of blurs the lines between the two guys, right? Because Austin Aries, who's technically the heel, he gets cheered, and you've got Eddie Edwards, who's technically a babyface heel. I don't know. I guess time will tell. Because you want to say, based on Tommy Dreamer handing him over that kendo stick, that was kind of a babyface turn almost. But then he came out and he attacked Austin Aries with the kendo stick. And the babyface wouldn't generally come out and attack the heel from behind. At least that's what I've, come to know just from basic watching wrestling. And then, of course, from hearing wrestlers talk about booking. So, I don't know. I guess Austin Aries is the face now? I don't know. Oh, I guess he is the face of the company. So, I guess maybe he's the face? I'm not. I'm a little confused, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on. We then get our first match of the evening. We have Petey Williams taking on Bone Soldier Taiji Ishimori in a singles bout. Some highlights of the match. The Bone Soldier and the Canadian Destroyer started off fast, and they moved back and forth. Petey landed a code breaker to slow Ishimori down. He put Ishimori in a tree of woe and stood on him until he stepped off Taiji and then pushed him to the outside. Later on in the match, Taiji, sorry, I don't know why I'm saying Taiji, Bone Soldier reversed a shot to the turnbuckle and slung around the ropes to hit a springboard seated splash to take control of the match for a bit. Petey ended up fighting back as well, but Ishimori was able to maintain most of the offensive match maneuvers for the bout itself. At the conclusion of the match, we saw Tahiji hit a shotgun dropkick and landed some knees into Petey's face in the corner. Ishimori then climbed up the top rope, but he missed the splash. They traded counters back and forth until Ishimori hit a move that drove his knees into Petey's chest from a tombstone position. Went for a pinfall, but Petey Williams kicked out. Petey Williams then hit a powerbomb, and Ishimori rolled through the Canadian Destroyer. So Petey tried a sharpshooter, and then Bone Soldier rolled him up for a 2 count. And then Ishimori picked him up and hit a modified DDT, and he got the win. So your winner, Bone Soldier. And then after the match was over, they both kind of hugged and celebrated. And then Dizzy Hit Squad hit the ring and destroyed both of them. So again, really confusing. Because like the last 2 or 3 weeks, they've been building up Dizzy Hit Squad as this babyface tag team. And tonight, they came out and attacked Petey Williams and Bone Soldier. So technically, and it was like Bone Soldier almost had a babyface turn, which, I mean, it's fine if he's going to be the babyface here and then the heel in New Japan if you're watching that, if he's sticking with the Tongas and the OGs. So, you know, it just more confusing. It just definitely seems like they're shaking things up. They're definitely flipping things on the script here tonight with all these turns. After the match, like I said, Dizzy Hit Squad hit the ring and attacked him. Then we go to backstage segment where we see Santino Marella, aka Anthony Carelli, who, if you are unaware, he does have his own gym in Canada where he trains both wrestlers and mixed martial arts, battle arts. Check him out if you're in the area. But anyway, so Santino Marella, he's backstage. He's basically just kind of hyping up the students he's training because, of course, they're there in Toronto on location shooting nights, 1, 2, 3 of taping. Austin Aries walks up and he basically tells him that he should leave. Marella responds by saying he's not so much of a fan of Austin Aries anymore. Austin Aries ends up saying he doesn't slap like a bitch like other guys. I think he's, of course, referring to Jim Cornette. And that if he wants to face him, that he should step up. Marella, of course, says that he can't due to his neck issues. Then Austin Aries alludes to the fact, well, why don't you let me fight your student? Santino Marella says that's not really a good idea. He's just a student. But of course, the student, being the young guy that he is, says, yeah, of course, I'll fight Austin Aries for the title. So even though it wasn't really announced, where you get the match announcement, I guess, that next week will face Anthony's students. I guess technically he wrestled him that evening for the live audience, but next week we'll see it. Austin Aries versus Santino Marella's student in a Impact World Heavyweight Championship match. We then moved on to our knockout match of the night with seeing Rebel going one-on-one with Tessa Blanchard. Rebel started things out by trying to gain control, but Tessa just stomped on her during a sunset flip attempt. She then dragged Rebel around the ring, later on the ropes, and then kicked her. She went for a 2 count, but Rebel kicked out. Rebel then took control. She tried to score a schoolgirl pin, but Tessa kicked out. Rebel then hit a front face suplex with the splits for a 2 count. Conclusion of the match, though, saw Rebel climb up to the top rope, but Tessa Blanchard stopped her, and then she hit her hanging DDT before hitting the hammerlock DDT, so back-to-back DDTs, for the win. So your winner, Tessa Blanchard. Thank you. That's all I want to see. Tessa Blanchard. Just continue to have her win matches convincingly. She won her match pretty convincingly over Allie at the pay-per-view. She won her match last week, and she won tonight. So ever since she got that 2-year deal, they're finally giving Tessa a push. And I definitely think she's going to be the, Impact's version of Charlotte Flair, if you will. Which, if you think about it, she is one of them. She's one of the horsemen. She's one of the horsewomen. She comes from royalty. So definitely happy to see Tessa Blanchard win convincingly. No strings attached. They then aired a commercial for Bound for Glory, which of course is taking place from the Melrose Ballroom in New York, October the 14th. We then get the debut of the new knockout, Scarlett Bordeaux. She's a very attractive gentleman, and ladies. She's a very attractive lady, I will say. Now, of course, Scarlett comes out. She says she wants to be referred to as the Smoke Show, and said that we're in a historic time for women. We're in the middle of a revolution, and she wants to be an inspiration for women while she was striking seductive poses. She said she wanted to be like Marilyn Monroe or Cardi B. She says she will not be hot-shamed, alluding to the fact that she believes she is so attractive, she should not be made fun of for that fact. Then she turned full heel and called her interviewer, the interview girl who was out there, a 5, told her to sit down because she's a 10. Great line. Great line. She then said she wanted to make wrestling sexy again. She licked the microphone and then told the staff in the back to hit the music, and she left. So that was Scarlett Bordeaux. So unlike WWE's evolution of wrestling, Impact continues to generate both sides. Women who are smoking hot and generally end up being able to wrestle. So bravo, Impact, the true full, I guess you'd say, they were the first full modern day all women's pay-per-view. I mean, of course, there were women pay-per-views before that. And of course, you have to go to wrestling. But if you want to go modern day, in the last 10, 15 years, it was technically first 3-hour pay-per-view was Impact with the knockouts themselves. So that was Scarlett Bordeaux's debut. And I guess we'll see more to come of her, what type of wrestler she is inside the ring, or if she's going to just be a sexy hot girl who comes out every week, which, I mean, that's okay. Impact doesn't have a lot of women who just come out and are sexy hot girls. SoCal Val is not really an on-screen character anymore, or with Impact, it seems, or at least not in that capacity. So they don't really have a smoking hot valet. I'm trying to think of any other professional wrestlers on the Impact roster who come out with a female valet, and it is hard to come to mind at this time. I mean, of course, you have Alicia with her husband, Eddie Edwards, but we really don't have any of that. Oh, is she single? Who's she with? We then get the Impact re-debut of Johnny Impact. He goes one-on-one with Trevor Lee. These two start out quickly, and Impact utilize this is going to be weird saying Impact, by the way. Like when you're saying this, when I'm recapping these matches, Impact. So if I jump around and I say Johnny or Impact, I'm talking about the same person here in this particular match, just as a forewarning. So anyway, Impact utilizes an arm drag, kept the pressure on Lee's appendage before hitting a leg sweep and a forearm to the face. Johnny Impact then hit a flying kick off the ropes. Lee took advantage after a distraction from Caleb Conley. Trevor kept on the pressure, and Impact sold for a bit. Trevor Lee got a 2 count and then took on Impact for a while, and then he ended up taunting and posing with the crowd. Conley then choked Impact while the ref's back was turned. A conclusion of the match, though, saw with Conley interfering in the match. Impact was counting down to Impact. Conley interfered. I'm reading some notes. My notes here. I wrote Conley interfered when Impact was counting down to Impact. Why did I write that? Okay. Anyway, so Lee hits a double stomp for a 2 count. Then Lee tries a German suplex, but Impact fights out of it and lands on his feet. Once Lee pulled off the German suplex, then Impact kicked Lee in the face, but Conley pulled Lee out of the ring before he could hit the Starship Pain. So Impact turned around and hit a dive on both Kenny and Conley. On both Lee and Conley to the floor. Then he threw Lee back into the ring, hit the Starship Pain for the win. So your winner of this match, Johnny Impact. Johnny Mundo, Johnny Nitro, Johnny Hennigan, Johnny hey, how's it going? Hey, Johnny, be good. Anyway, so Impact then gets on the microphone after the match, and he says that he can't begin to say how good it feels to be back in the Impact Zone. He says his goal is, of course, to be the Impact World Champion, but he has business to take care of first. He reminds the Impact audience that he was taken out by Congo Kong and Jimmy Jacobs, and then, of course, that they've been making fun of him for the last couple months while he's been at home and filming his reality TV show Survivor. He says that he will not rest until he takes Congo Kong to Slamtown. I hope we get Ben Hameen somewhere in an indie promotion taking out Johnny Impact down the line. We then go backstage and we see Allie, who's being interviewed. She basically gives props to Tessa Blanchard for the victory and being so talented. She brings up the fact that Su Yung put Madison Rayne in a coffin and states that she should have been there for Rayne. She then ends up going on saying that she's been put in a coffin, Rosemary's been put in a coffin, Madison's been put in a coffin, and that she's not going to let it happen to anyone else, and that's her promise to stop Su Yung. Kara Hogan then walks up and she says she's going to join, and then Allie says, Su Yung, your time has come. So looks like everybody's coming after the Impact Knockouts Women's Champion. They then aired a backstage throwback, so we got the GWN Vault match of the week. Now, generally, like I said, I do find these at times to be tedious and just to be fillers, especially because they're filming 3 nights of content. Come on, you could film enough. You could film another match or throw something else in there. However, being the fact that one of the men in this match were just recently retired, and the other 2 men are the biggest tag team in the world, I have to give Impact credit. They aired a throwback match from TNA's No Surrender 2010. I think I actually had this on DVD. Do I have it on DVD? It's Generation Me, that being the Young Bucks, taking on Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, the Motor City Machine Guns. If you weren't aware, Alex Shelley recently tweeted out, and it was reported over the weekend, that he is leaving professional wrestling. So if you get the chance, go seek him out on Twitter. Tell him how much you liked him. If you did like him, and of course, if you do want to catch some Motor City Machine Gun matches, definitely would check out any of their matches with the Young Bucks, Generation Me, whether that's Impact Wrestling, New Japan, Pro Wrestling, or Ring of Honor. Those 4 always put on great matches. We then get a backstage vignette, or I guess we're backstage itself still, with Grotto, Katrina, and Joe Hendry. Let's see here, I wrote down that basically, so Katrina is, at this point, dude, you can totally tell that Katrina's into Hendry. Like, she's with Grotto, but she's not really with them. She's like, basically, she's got a burger, and she's looking at that steak. She's like, that steak looks good. I want some of that. So anyway, Eli Drake walks up, and he basically says, hey, you guys are like the 3 Musketeers. All for one, and one for all, right? He says he has a gift for all of them. Grotto opens it up, and it's a picture of Eli Drake and Katrina, and it says love. This kind of bugs Grotto the wrong way. Of course, Hendry says, hey man, it's just a joke, and they'll go ahead and they'll throw it in the trash right now. So it looks like Eli Drake is trying to stir the pot. Yeah, dummy. Kind of a weird role to stick Eli Drake in. They were just like, hey, go ahead and let's take this picture really quick, and then we'll write love on it, and you can be in the scene. So glad that's where Eli Drake is. Yay. Alright, we then have some more vignettes here. I'm going to breeze through these really quick. Follow Ball and Cam are backstage, and basically Cam is telling Ball that he needs to find his mean streak. Has him, chew on some gum, put on some sunglasses. Meanwhile, in the background, KM is being kind of an arse to everyone else, trying to show Follow Ball you have to find your mean streak. He says that next week we're going to see that mean streak. We then get a Killer Cross promo. He describes himself very sinisteringly. I can't do justice to Killer Cross. Just go watch the promo on Impact Wrestling YouTube or anywhere. Go to probably his Twitter at @RealKillerCross. Which, by the way, if you do tweet Real Killer Cross, tell him you'd like to see him on an interview in the future with Big Ray, Ben Hameen. I don't know, I'm just saying. Tweet him out. Meanwhile, then we go back again to another vignette in the OG's Clubhouse, which is with King and Supermex and Homicide. Man, it feels so good to say those names again, because, like, don't get me wrong, I know who Santana and Ortiz are, but when I think of the LAX, I always think of Supermex and Homicide, and that just instantly comes to mind. So it's just nice to see them back, and I get to say their names when talking about Impact Wrestling again. Basically, he says that he's not satisfied, that he actually expected more out of LAX, that you can win a million battles, but you have to win the war first, and that where they come from, once they tag something, it's theirs forever. He says that LAX 5150 is now dead, and rechristens his team the OGs 730. Maybe that's their area code, maybe that's their bank net worth account. Maybe that's the block they grew up on. I'll have to do some more information for you at a later time. We then get another backstage vignette. Impact definitely filled up on the vignettes tonight. OV's in the bathroom. They're trying to make Sami Callihan feel better about getting his head shaved. Some random guy just walks in, and he's just sitting there taking a pee. And Sami Callihan attacks him, and they shave his head. It's kind of messed up. That guy's just trying to go to the bathroom, take a pee, and you're going to shave his head? That guy's going to think twice now about ever using public restrooms. That's horrible. It's horrible. Alright, we then go to our main event of the evening, the Impact X Division rematch. you didn't catch this last week's Sunday Slammiversary, like I said, check it out on right here on the One Wrestling channel. You can check out the Impact Slammiversary review show with me. So before we go to the main event, I also want to point out, if you happen to see my shirt, KWO Blue World Order, you can pick one up yourself from ProWrestlingTees.com/Stevie Richards. I am in no way being paid by Stevie Richards, just a supporter of him and the Hami Media Group, and of course Stevie Richards Fitness. I got in shape too. Can't really tell, as I wasn't really big or really overweight or really underweight. I was just kind of like 15 pounds overweight. Got some muscle. Nice. It's good. Work pro out. I still try to do it when I'm not working 7 days a week. But I digress. Let's go to that main event. That's what you're here to listen for. Matt Sydal taking on the new X Division champion, Brian Cage. I'm going to get my full report and read this off from WrestlingInc.com because I was so much into this I didn't take notes. So Matt Sydal comes out to the ring. He took Cage's legs out from under him and hit a running kick on the corner while Cage was laying in the turnbuckle. Cage hit a Hurricane Rana and took Matt Sydal out with a massive clothesline. Brian Cage then hit a Pompando Samoan drop for a 2 count, and then Sydal reversed Cage's next move and hit a inventive move. That's what they wrote down for a 2 count. So that inventive move is kind of like a cross between a suplex slam and a DD. I don't know. It's hard to describe. Go watch it. Sydal hit a splash to Cage's back for another 2 count. Cage returned fire and hit a 619 for a 2 count. Sydal then landed on his feet to counter a move from Cage as he kicked him in the face and hit a snap Rana for a half a count. So the conclusion of the match comes with Brian Cage. He hits a F5 on Sydal. Sydal kicks him out, and then Sydal tries to come back with a knee and a kick, but Cage no-sells it, takes control, puts him in the drill claw, hits it. 1, 2, 3, and your winner and still X Division champion, Brian Cage. Still undefeated. I don't know how I feel about them immediately giving away the match the very, 4 next days, or I guess the next night if you're in Toronto. But I understand because Impact doesn't have like monthly pay-per-views. So it was probably good to have Brian Cage go one-on-one with Matt Sydal right away. Hopefully that's the end of that. And, because that's how I got the feel. That's what I took away from Impact tonight, was reset. They hit the reset button, and this is now the brand new arc that's going to lead you in to Bound for Glory. And if that's how they're going to lay things out going forward, I can get on board with that. Just a little unexpected, You don't expect in one night to see so many changes. You don't expect to see, Bone Soldier turn babyface and at the same time have Desi Hit Squad turn heel. You don't expect to see Austin Aries technically the babyface and Eddie Edwards, who technically ended his feud as the babyface, now him the heel, even though he technically was the heel, so he really didn't lose his status. But if you're going by the end of the Tommy Dreamer match, he was technically passed the torch. Anyway, and then of course you've got KM, and he's hyping up Fall of Boss, so that continued. Matt Sydal, like I said, doesn't recapture Brian Cage's title, and Impact is coming. Johnny Impact is coming after Congo Kong and Jimmy Jacob. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is Impact Wrestling for July 26, 2018. I hope you enjoyed this thorough breakdown for you. Of course, if you liked my breakdown now and want some cool, awesome, zany reactions, and of course the reactions of the pros, tune in this evening or tomorrow morning to the Impact Attacked with Bin Hameen, and this week's special guest is actually Andrew Bello, as Big Ray is in Miami, as I mentioned last Sunday. Party in the sun where the beat, party in the sun when the heat is on, all night of the breach to the break of dawn. I'm going to Miami. Anyway, you can of course check me out on Instagram and the Tweeters at Mathew_Shaffer. You can follow me if you want to have more of a wrestling type of conversation, as I manage the Hami Media Group's Twitter account at Hami Media Group, as well as you can find me in the Hami Media Discussion Group as an administrator there. And of course, follow at After One Wrestling, because we are home here to the world famous Bill Apter. And of course, follow One Wrestling and at Big Ray's Show. You can catch This Is NXT, of course, each and every week with Michael Jargo. And of course, returning, we should say, next week, the Raw and SmackDown Smack Talk with Rick Vickery and Big Ray Hernandez. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time I have for you today. Thanks for stopping by. Don't you dare go too far. We'll see you next week on the IWR. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, brother.